What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Opendoor. I want to go over some of the data points, what is moving it today on the last day of 2025, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Opendoor is up 0.58%, so it is doing rather well considering the broader market is largely consolidating. 596 the low, 577 the high, but rather low volume, so 16.4 million shares being traded. Most is actually linked to algorithmic trading. So oddly enough, AI is really pushing Opendoor higher, and that's because of a lot of positive articles coming out associated to Opendoor, plus some things that Kaz mentioned, so I'll go over that in a second. Aside from that, we did have kind of one data point today, and that was initial jobless claims. Came in at 199, forecast of 222. So generally very, very good. Although the market doesn't really like that because it doesn't justify a rate cut. So I think there's more and more kind of hints of just potentially no cut coming. And so once the market actually does come to that realization, it might freak out a little bit. But today there's a lot of things that's kind of happening. The market's digesting the FOMC minutes that was stated yesterday, some increased tensions with the States and Iran. So that, of course, isn't really helpful whatsoever. Associated to Opendoor, no official press releases, no SEC filings whatsoever. Unofficially through Twitter, or I guess officially because they did that 8K saying that whatever Kaz says on Twitter is considered PR. So he did say we've now made our last product change for the year. I'm genuinely proud of what we've shipped. It will take a bit for us to see the new experiences are baking, but like I said, in week one, we are going to ship. Not everything will work, but we are going to ship. So generally, I think Kaz is the disruptor that Opendoor really does need to really thrive, and 2026 will be a very big transition year for it, and hopefully their upcoming earnings will really kind of hit home with that as well. So aside from this though, it looks like we're going to be hopefully closing above a key technical level as well, hopefully going into 2026 with more positives. Aside from that, shorts, they are returning 396,000 shares. 15.03% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 117 million shares overall being shorted. Still see some signs of naked shorting, which is odd because I would have anticipated at this stage in the game someone to catch on and start screaming naked shorting, because there is more shares being shorted than on loan. That shouldn't happen, but DTC sitting at 1.06 days, and overall shorts have been returning, so they've been kind of doing the wise thing, but still there's a lot of weird things that's happening in the broader market, and possibly one of those could be a good reason to for shorts to really start getting back in. So hopefully institutions will continue to buy. These are some of the transactions occurring on the dark pool, and so with today again being the last day in 2025, we are going to be seeing some kind of abnormal transactions as institutions and hedge funds will be rebalancing. A lot of the hold numbers like 72,000, 50, and so forth, a lot of that is linked to hedge funds. On the secondary market, you're seeing a kind of handful of transactions, 3 buys and 1 sell. The 1 sell is for 176,000, and then the other ones are 1.1 mil, 589,000, 286,000. So good to see institutions are actually buying Opendoor, and this is completely opposite to what's happening with most of the stocks. Most kind of growth and speculative stocks are actually getting sold off today, which is rather interesting. Nonetheless, on a side note, tomorrow is closed, so the market's closed, so you might see some volatility during power hour, and then on Friday historically we'll see kind of lower volume on a side note. But looking at the options, 1.1 million in calls, 406,000 in puts, and then 53% of all the options being done are bullish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to close between that 6 to 650 this week, and then potentially for it to be roughly around that 650 to 7 next week. Bears are anticipating for it to kind of the opposite to occur, that it'll close between that 550 and 6, and then break it down a little bit more, sub $5 going into next week. So kind of have that back and forth, but as I mentioned at the very beginning, Right now, Opendoor is getting above a key technical level. So right now with it at 589, it is trading between this pivot and this S1. So 585 is going to be that key level you want to watch for it to close above. I'm looking at the 1-day chart. So all of this is very strong support and resistance points. And so yeah, again, if it's able to close above that, then hopefully you'll see a nice continued push higher going into kind of 2026. Right now, 486 is going to be that strong support. I don't really see that, obviously, kind of something on the table right now, but moving over to the 4-hour, just so you guys have a little bit more of a closer viewpoint, 576 and then 545 is going to be support levels. So that also is one reason why Opendoor is moving higher, because it did bounce off of this S2, which is a very strong support. So you have a lot of good articles coming out associated to Opendoor, so that alongside the technicals are pretty much the reasons why it is doing fairly well. So at the very bottom, you can kind of see a lot of the major indexes all red. So Dow is down 0.25, NASDAQ down 0.21, and S&P down 0.23. Opendoor definitely is doing very well. These are some of the articles that did come out. Nothing really crazy, in my opinion, worthwhile to kind of bring up, but still articles talking about Opendoor is good enough to really cause AI to really push higher. Right now, it is below that 10-day moving average, so that white line. So ideally, in the next couple of trading days, it does get above that, and that's sitting at 613. So today is more of a nice technical recovery, and if it's able to get above that, let's say by early next week, then you could see most likely a test of this 100-day moving average, and that is sitting currently at 688. There hasn't been any new analyst ratings. Looking at the market position though, you see a little bit more willing buyers and more willing sellers between that $7.20 and $8 range. But as of right now, stochastic RSI is really signaling that Opendoor is very oversold. And then over and above that, in the past, I know I've brought this up, but if you do truly believe in Opendoor, look at options. So for instance, if you feel 750 is on the table, and I know some people might think that's rather low, especially considering Eric is saying that 82 or $500 or whatever is on the table, that 750 still does represent a 27.12% upside. If you feel it can get there by, let's say, February the 6th, for instance, long call would give you a 172% return on risk. So if you want to make some very serious money, look at a long call. But do your own due diligence, do whatever floats your boat. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.